Hello, everyone. A few weeks ago, I published a security white paper talking about the Azure Sentinel use case for attack-based detection and mitigation. On request of some of the customer, they asked me to do a quick walkthrough on my Sentinel instance. So I make this video for sharing. First of all, I would like to point out that this is not a training section for Azure Sentinel. Actually, you can find out a lot of material in the Microsoft documentation and cloud, as well as you can go to YouTube channel, their YouTube channel to watch a lot of wonderful, insightful video presentation. What I'm going to do is just a quick walkthrough. That is not an exact training. Second, in the first part of this video, I try to put some of my personal comment on how to set up a SOC. So the purpose of presenting this part of material is to provide a brief introduction to those who are not using a SIEM solution in their environment, or their SOC maturity is not in advance. They want to get some brief understanding before they implement their SOC solution. Either they are using Azure Sentinel or some other SIEM solution, or they want to outsource the SOC for this video as some kind of reference. So if you want to know more about what is the human or people procedure activity on how to be a Azure Sentinel analyst, you better go to the YouTube channel to find one video called "A Day in the Life of Azure Sentinel Analyst." I try to run a quick run through for the first part of my comment on the SOC. My topics, as I said, a quick walkthrough of Azure Sentinel, building a SOC in 90 days with Azure Sentinel. That is my actual experience. Our team, mainly me, Ken Wong, Ken Ma, and Eric, try to learn how to use Sentinel within 90 days to deploy our Sentinel instance. So this is some kind of sharing of my learning experience on how to apply a field use case as live demo by using Azure Sentinel. Who am I? So basically, I have a business entity called Dragon Advanced Tech. I've established another entity called Dragon Fab Lab, which later on arranged 5 years of Dragon Con in Hong Kong. So I give some talks, security talks in different locations. My major research is incident response, forensic investigation. We handle a couple of the BEC investigation in Hong Kong, as well as we try to understand how the Microsoft security roadmap by making use of Microsoft 365 and Azure Sentinel. So we try to provide some SOC contents for our customer and tune up the system, any kind of SIEM system. If they want to do some kind of SOC implementation, we give advice. So quick go through of the agenda. As I said, the first part is in some kind of introduction to what is a SOC, and then we go into the introduction of the Azure Sentinel. After that, we put more live demo on how we present our free use case that we developed by the security white paper. The first one is Microsoft Defender Office 365. The second case use case is by using Sysmon to detect PowerShell activities. The last part is the remote desktop activity. This is our white paper, and you can download the white paper from our website. So quick go through what is a SOC. So I have my own definition about the SOC. Basically, SOC comes with some kind of facility in the past, traditional SOC. But right now, today, we are talking about Azure Sentinel. It is a cloud-based SOC. So combined with people, some IT geeks who is responsible for monitoring of your entity cybersecurity events. The SOC team or your outsourced SOC vendor main goal to determine how you scoping of your SOC is to detect, analyze, respond cybersecurity incidents. When event after triage, it becomes an incident, and then you need to ask your tier 1 people or help desk people try to escalate the findings to tier 2 or tier 3 to handle. So they basically, that is some kind of activity, what we call the people's process and technology. Azure Sentinel is one of the technology we are talking about. So a lot of people, I like this picture very much because a lot of people think that the SOC basically is some kind of makeup with different kind of technology, and then we assume it can automatically fly by itself. Just like we bought the firewall, it will protect our security boundary in the past. If we buy the antivirus solution, suppose our endpoint will be 100% protected. So everyone aware that this may not be true. Your SOC team is basically some kind of air traffic controller in most of the case. They sometimes can gain visibility on what's going on and then redirect or direct all the issue back to you. But actually, they are not flying the plane. I heard a lot of my client or customer, they using outsourced SOC, they have that kind of comment in different kind of meeting. The first comment is we forward logs to a black hole maintained by the outsourced SOC without any response. We were so amazingly, and they deliver far less than good. The MSP operates as a separate entity. In an emergency or critical incident happen, we are pretty much on our own. They really isn't there. It really isn't a partner on the other side of the line. We don't see any value beyond the monitoring and send back a ticket back to our infrastructure team. We are proposed to have someone who has the expertise and insight, but we don't have. When I go through the SOC documentation, I try to find any authoritative definition and how to deploy a good SOC. I found two documents. One is from MITRE and other is from SENS Institute. The SENS Institute document said how to build a world-class SOC. So I would like to refer back the MITRE document, Security Operations Center. They proposed 10 strategy. I tried to name 5 of them. I like them very much. One of them called give the SOC the authority to do its job. Management support is very important. And then do a few things well. This is reason why I said you may need, for those who have not have a SOC team or the SOC maturity is not in higher level, we need to expect to do things in a longer term. In our demonstration, we spent 90 days to have a workable SOC by using Azure Sentinel. Another point they mentioned in the 10 strategy document, that is favor staff quality over quantity. Number of analysts is not so important when compared with the quality, the knowledge and skill set of the analysts. Exercise discrimination in your data you gather. So be careful. If you don't collect the data properly, you don't have insight, any magical query or alert generation algorithm by using AI or machine learning, it doesn't work because you don't have the data in your SOC or in your SIEM solution. Try to define your SOC mission and protect it. I take one of the MITRE training, they call MAD, MITRE Attack Defender training. They have a wonderful video training on the how to make use the MITRE attack framework to perform your SOC assessment. So in a few slides later, I will show you how the function, one of the workbook Azure Sentinel you can deploy to see how your security operation efficiency is working. But the MITRE attack base SOC assessment is worth to have a look. They try to making comparison between a traditional SOC, which is looking for compliance mainly. The approach is more innovative. That is a fact-centric approach. What I'm saying that is 100% Sunji kind of the defender task in that kind of perspective. They are looking more on detective or degrade instead of defense. They try to take some assumption as the breach assumed environment. They try to using the SOC activity to detection to increase the adversary's course on the future activity on the environment. Okay, better go to the demonstration instead of listen what I'm saying in the my comment on SOC. A quick go through on what is Azure Sentinel. Basically, it is a SIEM solution and it contains a port also SOAR solution. It is a cloud native. It is not installed on-prem. Basically, they come with the 4 parts: data connection, analytic to do the detection, and then using hunting skill, some of them coming from the AI and machine learning. And then you can do response by sending the escalating the message to the making comment on an alert to the tier 2 or deploy a automatic response playbook, either actually disable the account, block the IP transaction, or further enhance some information on a particular hash of malicious attachment. And finally, you can also send a message to the Teams channel that you designed. So basically, it gets security insight across your enterprise, detect and investigate threat quickly, and automate the security response. So why using Sentinel? This is take out this wonderful security framework from the Microsoft documentation. They handle quite well in their cloud solution, as well as they have different kind of application called Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office 365, Azure AD Identity Protection, Zero Trust architecture by monitoring these kind of activity by the Azure Sentinel and create alert so that you can make response. When talking about the SOC process, actually, for those who try to making use of the Azure Sentinel, and if you don't know how to how to deploy the SOC activity procedures, actually, that is a wonderful reference that published by Microsoft in September 2021. They push out a workbook called SOC Process Framework Workbook. And inside, you can have wonderful follow through, and you can further enhance or amend this framework to suit your need. And you can also declare your mission statement on the SOC by changing it so that your team can follow. Let me right now show you my Azure Sentinel directly. Okay, let me log on to my Azure Sentinel instance. The first thing I would like to show you, that is the workbook called SOC Process Framework. So I go to workbooks. I have already deployed my version of SOC Process Framework. Then I can have a look of my instance of SOC Process Framework. Right now, you can see I will already changed the name. So you can see I add my definition or mission statement of my SOC. Then I have not changed anything because that is wonderful example. I can make further amendment later. So I can put in my SOC contacts, this number. Basically, I think you can find us, and then declare our SOC workstation of different level of the hierarchy of the SOC analyst, and the responsibility and role of each role in the SOC team, such as the SOC level 1 analyst. That is a quite comprehensive requirement, and the functionality, what they are performing, mentioned in the standard document. Of course, you can make your own version to amend it. Cyber threat intel analyst, you have a manager, of course, and then incident response analyst. They even have forensic analysts and investigator declared role description. The same engine, data scientists, and they have a wonderful responsibility chart prepared right here. Of course, you can have one person SOC to handle everything. Depends on your SOC mission and your resources available. Here you can see different kind of technology, process, guidelines and procedure. You can further amend to make change of it. For example, you go to incident management process, you click this, you can find the details how the incident management process be executed. Then I have also amend some of the tool and resources section. I try to put some of my incident response tool right here so that my team can have a look what kind of tool you can use to assess the alert that have been generated by the Azure Sentinel. Final but not the least, actually you can have a good learning resources. Most of the, you just click on this learning 7 module, you can have a better understanding how to use Sentinel other than my walkthrough. So another part I would like to show you is the one of the way we can do the SOC assessment together with Microsoft assessment activity. That is a security operation efficiency dashboard or workbook. We encounter some of the SOC client, they outsource their SOC to a SOC vendor. They don't know how to see, they don't even know what their SOC vendor provide their service to them. So they try to provide some KPI, but the checking the KPI right here is important. For example, they have some critical information, which is the data is existing data is created inside our Azure Sentinel instance. You can see how many incidents come out and the incident created by severity, how many high, how many medium, how many of them are that is information, and then incident created by the owner. We don't have a lot of activity right classified right here. You can check the trend of how the incident being come out, how they are handled, and also meaningful information about assessing SOC is the maturity of the SOC is the mean time to triage, mean time to closure. So this is a wonderful dashboard I love very much. Okay, how to deploy a Azure Sentinel instance? Actually, they have come out 56 out-of-the-box data connector. So mainly any native Microsoft application or solution, they have their default data connector to collect the data. And I would like to show you on my two examples. On my data connector. One is Office 365 data connector. Another is UEBA, User Entity Behavioral Analytics. Let me show you my instance. Okay, we go to the first thing you need to do, go to collect data. So we go to data connector. Let me show you the first important data connector, that is Office 365. I like to do this demo. So we go to Office 365. Basically, when you turn on, you try to deploy this data connector that is not connected. But right now, I have already connected to my Office 365 tenant. By using this data connector. Here you can see these some basic information, if that data connection is working or not. That is showing my status is connected, and the last log activity coming for 19 minutes ago. In real world, in real instance, that should be frequent, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And then there's some description. And then you can it can tell you related information. You can there are already 9 dashboard prepared by Microsoft for you by default. And then you can using different kind of query and analytic template. You can modify it so that you can create your alert. And here shows the trend of the activity from 3 major sources coming out from the Office 365, including the SharePoint, Exchange, and Teams. And then if you see the green, everything that you are okay, these data types coming from different locations. Once you click into the Open Connected page, you can have more information. If it is the first time you deploy this connector, you will need to make sure you already have these prerequisites and then check the configuration and then deploy. For the next step, it just tells you how to test the query. That is what you want to see so that it will allow you to see the Office 365. Later on, I will come back to show you in the case one of my use case, will show you more details about this data collected. Right now, I go to UEBA data connection. For the user and entity behavior analytic. That is a wonderful analytic dashboard and information or data connection provided by Azure Sentinel by default, but you need to turn it on. So I create one of the SOPs to show how to turn it on. If you want to know this, you can download this simple standard procedure how to turn it on. I would like to show you right now what it provides to you. Basically, that's this UEBA is the overview dashboard. That is the default built-in dashboard created by Sentinel, each Sentinel right now. I try to make some amendment on this default overview dashboard, but I cannot find a way to make change of it. But it shows you a pretty well information of the behavior analytics. For example, how many events here. If you click on this, right now I have only 5 events mainly, but basically for the others you can have some more information right here. If you click on here on this particular button, you can see something right here. For example, I already turned on the Azure Sentinel UEBA. If I want to see, okay, what is behavioral analytic, then I can type in something right here and then run it. If that is not appropriate, I can change the time period to show more information about my behavioral analytics. You see, this is generated by turning on the UEBA function setting. So how to turn on the UEBA at Azure Sentinel? So you can, let's see if I can find the location right here, because you need to really familiar with that kind of layout. That is a lot of functionality contained inside Sentinel. Go to Sentinel overview and then the entity behavior, and then go to entity behavior setting. Then you can check on what kind of information sent to the UEBA. Okay, this is the only data not through the data connector you need to turn on. I highly recommend you to turn on to play around with the Sentinel before you are actually deploy some other data connector. Okay, we come to the another part called query and visualization. So query is referring to the part what we call the query or analytical function provided by Microsoft. Some default rules are already provided, and of course you can create your own version. And then workbook is the dashboard. Let me show you the Office 365 workbook that I have already deployed. So that is the default Microsoft workbook, and when you turn it on, you can see different kind of activity provided by the default workbook. Here you don't see the data because you need to make sure you have configured proper workflow and proper user type, and then Bravo, you can see a lot of analytic, nicely presented visualization, graph, and content right here. And then you can see different usage. If you want to make any change on it, or you want to see the query that has been executed in the background, you can go to edit, and then you can try to learn how to write your own query. Give me some time, my network is a bit slow. Oh, right here, you have this query right here, and then you can copy it and see if I can go to the log to paste my query right here and execute it. If there's something wrong, maybe something wrong in the here. My 250s right here. Okay, maybe you just cut it. You can see all the table information right here. For example, office activity, you can create by checking this Sentinel office table. You can find the whole schema right here. It depends on how you're making use of these data and play around with it. Okay, so other than that, you can also try to test one of the query that I already showed you previously, that is called the behavioral analytic, or some of the behavioral analytic can provide some meaningful information. So to simplify the work, I try to copy and paste one of the query that I found from the Microsoft website. That is the behavioral analytic right here. For example, I want to find the activity type equal to fail log on, and then it provides me some more information about the first time user connected to from a remote country. Then how about take 3 months? Okay, you will see these fail log on first time from different country by using account, for example, an account called CVE 40444. And then some action type is other. For example, user to try to do an invalid username or password on by using Firefox. And this one is coming from another IP in Hong Kong, Chrome. And then you can further study the information right here. That is one of the way you can use the query. And other than that, I also turn on another data connection called DNS event. If I copy and paste this information right here, you can see what kind of DNS activity that I have collected from the endpoint by turn on the Windows Security Agent. You can see wonderful information such as what kind of subtype of the event DNS activity, and then the IP resolved. Okay, another part I want to walk you through is the incident. Incident is the key area for any analyst of your SOC team and need to visit every day. So let me show you some incident. Actually, incident is generated from the analytic, or some incident have been generated by some other Microsoft web application, including Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Endpoint 365, whatever. So right now, let me show you some of the incident that we create intentionally in our previous activity. Let me show you one of the RDP activity that is mentioned in one of our use case in our white paper. Let me find the 955. Okay, So this is the RDP from non-jump host IP address to a particular host. So some description right here that we create, then you can have one event, one alert for this incident. If you need to go into the full details, you can see the contents. Right here, you find that, well, why that is investigate is deemed it shows that the message tells you investigation graph or request, we need to have some entity right here because our rules declare no entity. Therefore, it cannot provide us any further information about the investigation. Of course, you can also click on the action, how to create automation rules and or create a team to send out the message. Other than that, you can update the content right here. And if you find the alert right here, you can actually trigger some of automation playbook that you have already deployed. I will show you the playbook later section. Of course, you can write some bookmark right here. And then when you click on entity in another alert, you can find the entity already provided, but this is the rule that we create. We forgot to create the mapping, the entity from the activity. So you can also write comments whenever later on people, when they see something here, your team member can understand who and how this comment have been provided. That is one of the example that I would like to show you. For another alert, I would like to check the 952. This is the higher alert, Mimikasa credential theft tool. We actually collect these log source from Micro Defender 365 for endpoint. So if we click on the full details, this incident have more information. For example, the description, this is default Microsoft alert created by Defender for endpoint. So you can go to the alert and then also you can execute your playbook, and then you can see the bookmark entity right here. You see some other entity right here. For example, file hash, host, and file. And then, of course, you can write comment right here. Go back to the timeline. You can see the timeline information by clicking the button right here. It will provide you more details of that. Right here, this case, we can click on the investigate. And that is how you need to, if you were one of the analysts right here, whether you're tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3 to do your triage or incident response, you can using using this kind of graph to perform your investigation and then make your activity how to reassign some people and they get new status of this incident. Okay, other than incident, you can also using the threat hunting features provided right here. By default, the threat hunting already generated by different kind of alert to a mapping to the multi-attack enterprises matrix. So I would like to click a few of them to show you. You don't need to turn it on. It automatically, if you have some alert that generated meaningful threat hunting statistic, it will automatically provide it right here. For example, you click on the incident. For example, you click on the initial access. You can find some of them. For example, you can find the where domain seen in cloud log. It provides the details, and then you can run a query, see whether you can something comes out. It's nothing right here, but you can see if in your instance, if there's some alert that is related with these initial access activity, you can get some kind of result right here. For example, if you click on the privilege escalation, you will see that 26 privilege escalation rule have been deployed on my instance. And then, for example, if I want to know more about the web shell detection, I don't need to run the run query because I have no web data or the web server log to push to my instance. So I know that there's nothing right inside my instance. So even though I click on the query, I have nothing. Right now, I would like to show one item that I already have some information called the lateral movement. So I picked the where audit activity initiated by app. So I run a query. Suppose I have 9. Yeah. And then if I want to see the result, I can go, it will automatically direct me to the log analytic KQL, and I can find item by item, which task resources have that kind of real activity have been identified. Of course, right here, you can learn your KQL, how to define your variable and then select your SQL-like command where, and then extend the content, and then expand the embedded JSON of the data field, and then do summarize of the data. It's wonderful. There's a lot of wonderful query right here, but I highly recommend you use a simple query as your start to build up your KQL query library. Maybe I can show you one simple query that we have created previously, especially for our instance for Microsoft 365. Okay, so I would like to show you my M365 email forwarding rules right here. And then you click in, and you see some content we provided here, and then set logic. We usually provide this reference right here because we assume there may be some level 1 analysts. They have no idea about this query and they want to investigate. The reference may provide meaningful insight for our junior staff member. Okay, that is the last part of my walkthrough of Azure Sentinel before I present you my free use case. Automation is a sole function. Let me show you one of the automation template that we deployed from the Sentinel GitHub. That is the block Azure AD user. Usually, we need to special care whether we want to do that. Because once you deploy it, whenever some trigger this playbook, it will automatically deploy the user's access to the Azure AD, including their user or how they can access their email on Exchange Online. How to write this automation? You need to go into the Logic App Designer. Basically, that is a couple of steps. The first step is how these incident how these playbook being triggered, and then you need to extract the entity from the content. Entity including the account IP address or the hash or file. And then there is some logic right here for they try to enumerate the content of the account entity, and then update the account information, and then build up different kind of condition, if true or false, by the body of this account content. If, for example, add comment, you can do add comment on it. and then you can do some more activity and send the information to perform the additional function to disable the Azure AD account. Now, I would like to show you one simple app that we deployed it. That is so simple. We just go to the Logic app. There's only two very simple steps. The response is triggered by the alert. And then we post a message to the Teams channel, selecting our team instance, the team app, and then we go to a specific channel and then put the entity inside the body of the message. And if you would like to have a look, I can turn on my Teams channel and then share to you. Okay, we have different kind of team channel. Then you will see the information. For example, one of the rule trigger the mailbox right delegation, and then it is medium, and it send a message to the team channel that our SOC team or our client can access the information simultaneously, and then our team one or tier 1 or tier 2 analysts will perform an immediate triage or the handling the mitigation of these kind of alert being generated by the playbook. Okay, go back to our slide. I'm going to show a quick live demo on these three use cases. Microsoft Defender for Office 365, Sysmon and PowerShell, and remote desktop activity. Here, I would like to give some kind of my understanding what is a SOC use case. It is difficult to find a good definition. However, I tried to dig out some of them. One of them from Gartner in 2016, they defined a SOC use case as specific condition or event, usually relate to a specific threat to be detected or reported by security tool. It's put high emphasis on two things, technology talking about event and security tools, and then higher level is the threat. So another definition is I obtained from one of the document published by the Financial Asset Netherlands. They have a good white paper called a joint use case framework. They have a complete framework called MAR-GMAR in 2017. They defined a use case is a security monitoring scenario, more like what we showed you previously, some kind of scenario, some kind of alert generated from the event, which is aimed to the detection or magnification of the cyber threat. Also mentioned the cyber threat. So I would like to draw your attention that what I'm using the use case, which is coming from UML concept. Basic step how I create the use case is a problem statement define, then define the objective. Objective may consist of higher level statement, and then with the flag what we want to defend, and then we need to consider the data requirement, just as data source, and then we need to consider the logic or analytic or rules. So that we can test it by see whether alert can be generated. The alert need to bear with prioritization that usually we call the civility, and then final the output is the provide information or enhancement of the alert so that to allow people, your team, or your SOC vendor to help you to mitigate or respond. So that is the use case I try to use. Bear in mind that use case is not equal to rules. defining 50 rules is simple, but define 50 use case depends on whether you want to use it or not. Because some infrastructure maybe have different kind of technology used it. I SIEM, one of the famous SIEM solution, they have some wonderful rules, but these rules only detect some old protocol or technology. For example, they have a lot of detection on the IRC. They have a lot of detection on Telnet. They have a lot of detection of any internet-facing database. All these rules are useful if the technology is still using. So bear in mind to consider how to create your use case. Here I pick 3 of them. Most of them I pick from the MITRE attack framework. Office 365, they have a matrix. I try to pick out the information because when I handle the business email compromise case, I would like to have that kind of as model to making use of 365 because it's easy to deploy. You can have a data connection, set up the data connector easily. Or if you want to onboard the Office 365, you don't know how to do it, watch the video right here. So I pay attention on the valid account because a lot of organizations, they acquire 365. Either they buy different kind of license, they don't have the MFA, multi-factor authentication, or they don't want to, their management don't want to the MFA. I see a lot of occasion in Hong Kong. Then if you don't have the MFA, that's a lot of chance your email have been email credential have been leaked to the public, and that is a lot of cases that I encounter in my region. So by monitoring the wallet account, we can see are there any account manipulation. For example, create forwarding rules that I create a special rule previously and show you previously. And then sometimes you can monitor the fail log on. You can see the brute forcing of the account, and then try to measure the email collection. Are there email being downloaded? For example, one of the operation in the Exchange Online is called the mail item access. If we can show some information or a detection alert to general alert on this kind of activity, then that is very useful for us to consider. So let me show you my instance. Okay, first, the data connector, I have already shown you. If I want to see whether my Sentinel already have the Office 365 connector connected, then I click on here, you see the data is right here. And then you see I already configured it properly. The next move is I go to workbook. I already deployed some of the Microsoft 365 workbook by default that I already showed you previously. And then you'll find the proper information about the workload and proper information of the user type. And then it will automatically provide you meaningful information right here. And other than that, actually, I have my own version of the dashboard related with the Office 365 activity deployed. Forgot to create the, when we create the our workbook, we forgot to provide the basic information. Right here, you can see different kind of layout of the same data set that we present in our own version of our dashboard. That is called the Azure AD overview. Quite colorful. Thank you for our team, Eric, to prepare this. For example, you see the fail log on outside Hong Kong. If they are logged on from country of Singapore, how many times? For example, we can see the fail log on which user, and then from which IP address. And then you can click on user, you have user information, you click on user log on assessment, you can have some assessment information uniquely presented. That is a great way to present your data to your management. For example, we create especially for the how the many times when some people reset their account and whether they have enabled the MFA or not. So that is our own version of the workbook. Then we go back to our analytic. The analytic provide or detection will provide by Microsoft automatically. The answer is yes, but I would like to show you my own version of forwarding rules. Here you can learn how to write the query. First of all, you need to define your name of the rules, and then you can make change of your tactics. Remember the hunting workbook. When you click on hunting, you find the 12 step of the multi-attack framework. You declare right here, and then it will generate the alert right in the hunting workbook. And then you need to determine your civility so that you can prioritize your alert and then see whether you enable it or not. Here's the magic. This is the alert right here. We try to write a simple alert. Let me explain a little bit here. We provide the basic source why we create this alert, because a lot of occasion BEC activity people, I mean the adversary, when they compromise to get your valid account, the first step they want to do is create some kind of transport forwarding rule of internal forwarding rule, forward your email to RSS folder. So we go to the Office activity table and find the Office workload coming from Exchange. Whenever the operation contains the rules, forwarding rule or the including the transport rule, and then set mailbox rules with parameter has delivered to or forwarded to some other location, and then we pick out the IP client IP to do some regular expression because they comes with the port number or some other information that we want to filter out. And then we do some kind of expansion and make change of the data into more meaningful, and then we generate the content of time, operation, IP address, key, value, user ID, and different user object ID. And then here we extract the and enrich the content by extracting the result and mapping the entity. That is the pace we want to create our entity. So we could send this entity to IPv4, or maybe we can add additional, for example, account right here. If we have a user ID, we can put the user ID as account so that we can apply the entity to allow us to perform the investigation during the alert review, or by passing this entity item to the playbook so that the playbook can be executed properly. And then query is the query function that to be executed, and then we'll see whether you can want to group the information or not. And then you can have different kind of tuning on this activity. Here I turn on two automated response. One is go to geo IP to get the geolocation. Second is go to based on the IP to do something what we call the get IP to playbook automation. Finally, it will automatically verify your rule whether it's correct or not, and then you can save it. I don't need to save it because I think this rule is working good. You may have a question, how this analytic rule being created? Actually, if you remember in previous screenshot, you will find out that there is some maybe 31 query already provided by Microsoft Azure Sentinel by default. We take out these 30-something rules and then we add our own version. For example, we need to consider to deploy some of the rules which is enabled. Some of them are not enabled. Depends on how the SOC scoping, how the SOC requirement, because every time you deploy additional rules, that may require additional processing time, and some of them, if you are not familiar with, you may have a problem to understand, especially for the tier 1 analysts, how they do the triage when the alerts come out. We also do our own research and find out different scenario. We consider some of them, like, for example, this is one of the rule that we already deployed. Some others we still analyzing it, whether they are overlapping with some other default rule prepared by Microsoft Sentinel by default. So that is one of the way we create our analytic rules. Okay, go back to our case number 2, Sysmon and PowerShell. So why we want to deploy this use case? Because a lot of ransomware group, they are trying to, especially in time of COVID-19, organization try to take some kind of defense mechanism in work from home policy. They set up their VPN, and then they have allowed user from work from home to remote log on to their workstation or through a jump host to log on company's network. All these jump hosts are installed with antivirus program. However, human operating ransomware group, usually they can easily either obtain a valid account or VPN connection, or they exploit well-known vulnerability and VPN solution. You find a lot of resources in the internet. So, and then once they get the VPN connection, and then they use the RDP to perform the activity, or they log on some workstation to run their PowerShell. So we think that monitoring PowerShell is important. Some organization in their default policy not allowed to use PowerShell. When PowerShell come out, we can find out information. So PowerShell store inside the event log, but we want to monitor what kind of command line to be executed. A more easier way for us is deploy one of the system monitoring tool provided by Sentinel called Sysmon. Based on Sysmon, we collect the log and then we check any PowerShell activity. So data collection is important. Let me show you our instance how we deploy the Sysmon to monitor PowerShell. Okay, the same thing, how we have our data connector. So we find the event log of the endpoint to send the Sysmon data. We keep inside the security event. So we have the security event log enabled it, and then see whether we have our Sysmon dashboard create. Okay, by default, we have Microsoft Sysmon threat hunting log, the dashboard. So you can see some information right here, but it seems some minor tuning. So you don't have this information gathered at this moment. So we go back to our own version of Sysmon PowerShell overview. So simple information we provided right here by monitoring the syslog data monitoring. So for example, we have the process access, network connection, image load, registry event, and blah, blah, blah. The metric is the analytic. So we go to one of our analytic. For example, we just create one analytic. Quite interesting. that is latest CVE, that is on 2021-40444. So we create one analytic right here by checking the sysmon activity by using PowerShell. So we name our rules and provide some description, and assuming this is related with initial access and execution, we declare this as high civility. So the metric is right here, is the analytic. We have the sysmon log ingest into a Sentinel, and then we need to create our own parser to parse the data out, and then extract the information whenever they have some logic or analytic to find some of the suspicious activity. And then we map host to the computer, map account to the user, process to the command line, and then of course we can create additional stuff. The previous one for every 5 hours, and look up the data from the last 5 hours, grouping the information together, and then we turn on, and then we send the information to our Teams channel. Once everything is ready, it validates the rules and come out the answer, so we can have the alert. Let me show you the alert that we intended to trigger. For example, we go to the alert right here, try to find the appropriate log right there. See whether we can find it. Here we have the 2021-40444. That is alert we generate right here. You can click into investigate, because we have the entity provider right here. You see this, and then you perform additional function, and then see whether you can do a hunting, etc. And then you can see the alert right here. You can trigger the playbook right here. You can make a bookmark, right? You can find, check a specific entity by host, by account, see what you can do additional query and hunting. You can run some command right here. That is one typical example we want to show you about the incident by measuring the sysmon and PowerShell. Now we come to our final step about the remote desktop activity use case. As I said, the human operated ransomware, they try to do some kind of VPN log on in the COVID-19 period and try to use RDP to log on the jump host through the jump host to connect the inside network of the organization. If you don't have the proper defense deployed or sensor deployed inside your internal environment, if your VPN account has been compromised, even though you have the antivirus installed, the attacker actually stop your antivirus program, or even encrypt your enterprise version antivirus server or backup server in your midnight time that you don't notice. Of course, they can using their RDP to exfiltration to extract the data, high volume of data. If you don't have NetFlow deployed in your environment, you have no way to determine whether there are data leakage during a ransomware attack scenario happen in your infrastructure. So measuring RDP is, I think that is important fact for us to consider. The same thing, we need to determine the data source. If you don't have the data source, you don't have the visibility. Okay, we have not yet prepared our workbook on RDP activity, but we have definitely create our own version of detection rule need related with the RDP section with non-jump host IP address. So we go into the rule detection rule details. Forgot to mention there's some description. The magic is the logic of the rules. We have write our own query to gather the RDP activity from Windows event log, and then we have create our own version of the function to get the RDP activity by unique parser create internally. We define some dynamic IP address in our environment. We name it, define it as jump host. So we create our version of detection rule. You cannot just copy this. You need to do your own parser, what kind of information you want to pass out, and then you need to define your jump host in this particular case. Of course, you can add some other things, for example, entity mapping. Right now, I can add an account, see whether I can find an account right here, or IP address, for example. Then we pick the address and then pick the value of the IP address. Okay, or maybe we remote host. So we can define different kind of query, and then we set up a setting as usual. We have no automation right now. We set a one automation to send message to the event, and then query, and it will validating my rule whether they are properly declared or not. Right now, I have validated, my rule have been validated. I can save it. Now we can, in next time I do the presentation, my RDP activity will provide me some more information, including the entity. Then I can click on the investigation button. I can see how we gather this information. Are there any alert generated? Of course, yes. See whether we can find them out to show you as our last effort. Okay, here's one of our DP from John's hole. Go to full details. Remember, before we generate this alert, we don't have the investigation button enable because we don't have the entity declared. But I have already just declared the entity. I can write comment right there. So that is all my existing demonstration. Thank you for watching this video. We come to the last page of my presentation. Okay. Are we going to do some kind of Azure Sentinel internal? No. As I said, I just want to give you a brief, quick walkthrough how we learn how to use the Azure Sentinel within 90 days. We are a small team, but we already finding some more interesting things that we can making use of the existing technology or even the procedure mentioned in the SOC process framework provided by the Azure Sentinel team to in the workbook. And then we are the people, simple people, analysts to understand the technology to run our own version of Sentinel instance to provide service to our client. I think my main objective to provide this video sharing is because you can do, you can build an attack-based SOC, maybe different scale, maybe in different maturity by using Azure Sentinel, run through what we have done in the past within 90 days. And if you want to know more about how an analyst in respond to Azure Sentinel alert, try to watch this video. And then you can get it from my slide that I publish. Thank you for watching this long video sharing. Please feel free to tell your friend if they find this video is interesting. And whenever you find something boring, try to skip this step, or so that you can save your time on watching me to murmuring with my bad English language. Thank you. Bye-bye.